6 days on from a seismic afternoon in Melbourne, Adelaide United make what could be an emotional return to Cooper Stadium, determined to put on a show for their teammates Swande and George Blackwood, both of whom suffered serious injuries in that thrilling 3-3 draw with the league leaders Melbourne City. Into the Bear Pit tonight step Brisbane Roar, who haven't won here in over 5 years and who haven't scored in nearly 5 hours of A-League men's football. Robbie Cruz has of course signed on this week to try and fill that breach, but isn't available this evening. Roar had the second best defence in the league up until last week's hammering by the Newcastle Jets, but they really need someone to provide them with the goals. So here's the team news. Couple of changes for the Reds. One enforced with George Blackwood out with that knee fracture. So Hiroshi Ibasuki is restored to the attack after being left on the bench last week. The other change sees Lachlan Barr return to the defence after a 3-game absence, meaning Isaias is free to move back into midfield. Ethan Alagic drops down to the bench. Ben Warland serves the second game of his 2-match suspension. Bernardo, Harry van der Sarg and of course Swande, along with Blackwood, all long-term absentees. Now Robbie Cruz not considered today for Brisbane despite re-signing for a second stint with the club this week. So the onus again falls on Joe Knowles and Carlo Armiento to find the goals in what is an unchanged 11 from the team beaten 4-0 by the Newcastle Jets. Another new signing, Taras Skomulka, is on the bench against the club with whom he started his A-League career. The third recent arrival, Marcel Kennedy, is still building match fitness and hasn't travelled. Another former Red, Nikola Miljusnic, returns on the bench. He's missed the last 2 matches with injury. They hope for all 3 this evening. The 56th meeting between the pair. And Andy Harper Roar without a win here since December 2017, and probably fair to say they're not the favourites to win here tonight again.
Yeah, no, good evening, Simon. Brisbane certainly coming to Adelaide on the back of their worst performance of the season. In fact, probably for some time against Newcastle last week. They were very, very poor. Newcastle scored some good goals, it's true, but Brisbane were complicit in their own demise. Adelaide rebounded after a little bit of flatlining form themselves and a really robust away performance against Melbourne City. Great game. Let's see if they can bring that form home here tonight and excite their own fans.
Here's Craig Goodwin, looking for his 50th A-League goal tonight. Not all of those with the Reds. He scored his 50th for the club in all competitions against City last weekend. Strike that put them 3-1 up just before the break. And Hingert again down the right. Joe Knowles showing. Hingert again with time to try and pick out a teammate. As Courtney Perkins arriving, Jay O'Shea! Well, the Irishman put his head in his hands, which suggested that was pretty close. It took a deflection. Brisbane have a corner, might have been more.
Well, a nice play through midfield. Moore has probably been the busiest of the Brisbane players, was linking the various parts of the field for his team, and then in the end it falls to the very talented Jay O'Shea. Could do with a goal himself. Came very close. Corner the result. That was Brisbane's best moment.
And again they work it short. Can they find a crossing angle this time? Again back through Truid, who works it back out wide. And Brisbane will get another go. Off Isaias.
The Brisbane players asking for handball.
Isaias said it was off the leg.
Corner awarded. Not quite what Brisbane had in mind for the corner routine. It was a little bit stodgy from the Roar, but in the end.
Let's have another look at this. Well, it's possible. Was that arm out? Did it strike the arm?
And did it strike the arm first?
Well, Adelaide still strongly favoured to win this one. Brisbane have had the two decent opportunities. Might be a third one brewing here. Helped away by Barr. Brought down by Armiento, and that's going to be another corner for Brisbane. This time off Isaias,
who over the last 13 minutes, since we were running the clock on how long it was going to take, how long in fact it did take Brisbane Simon to get pretty much a touch on the ball. That was 10-11 minutes. Pretty much since then, Warren Moon's team, and maybe it was the kicking of the advertising hoardings that Maxi Burford reported that's got his team going, because Adelaide have been the shadow team since then.
So Brisbane can get some reward. Again, they work the corner short. It's been their preferred method. O'Shea looking for them at the back post. Surely they must score off the line. It was Tom Aldred who had the touch. Back into the danger zone. Adelaide struggling to clear it, which Popovic does eventually. And now the counter could be on for the Reds. Sprayed out wide towards Craig Goodwin by Ibasuki. And Brisbane scrambling to get back. He goes for the early cross. It's Halloran. And the telepathy between he and Zach Clough wasn't quite there. And Brisbane so close to opening the scoring. Instead, it's the Reds now on the front foot. Goodwin tees up Kito. Ibasuki. Kito again. And that should be the goalkeepers. Oh, good action at either end.
Well, both teams have taken a hatchet to their own chances. How Brisbane don't score there is grounds for an inquiry.
Now the clapping you can hear is for one day. Here's a chance though brewing for Brisbane. 28th minute. One day, of course, wears number 28. So the Cooper Stadium faithful showing their support and appreciation for one of their Spanish imports, who we send our best wishes to as well, and hope for a speedy recovery. Here's Kito. Driving for the byline, getting away from Hoare. Ibasuki just couldn't quite wrap that left boot around it. Decent chance though.
That's a tough one, even for a player of his considerable ability. When you haven't scored for a while, always they seem to be those half and tough chances that come your way. That would have been quite spectacular. It was a good raid down the left. Henry Hoare for Brisbane's had a good game, one of the Roar's best, but defensively he's really got his work cut out.
It's easy pickings for Jordan Holmes. Threw it. He was under a bit of pressure there from Isaias. Cheap turnover. Dorigo. Deflection! In! Cruel on Brisbane. Louis Dorigo and Adelaide United do not care. It's just his second ever goal in the competition. And the Reds, perhaps slightly against the balance of chances, lead at Coopers.
He was a fine young player, Louis Dorigo, but again the question mark on the Harvey Norman replay has to be asked of Jordan Holmes' decision-making with the ball in hand. From there, it's just a lack of fortune for Brisbane. It falls the way of Adelaide and Dorigo because he took the chance to shoot. The deflections helped, played the goalkeeper out of the game and give Adelaide the lead.
That's a hammer blow for Brisbane, just when they were starting to really build a case too. Let's see if they've got an immediate response. Henry Hoare on the right. Top of the box is O'Shea. And it's going to be another corner for Brisbane.
It just didn't quite tee it up for Jay O'Shea the way it might have. All a bit rushed in the end from Brisbane. But Hoare's been bubbly and dangerous for his team. And now trying to lift the energy around the men from Brisbane to sit back because of that concession of the goal, as fortuitous as it was for Dorigo.
They've had a succession of corners, Brisbane. Armiento in towards the near post. It's gone in. I'm not sure who got the final touch. Joe Knowles, maybe. Carlo Armiento might claim it himself. Brisbane are level. Adelaide didn't deal with it at the near post. And it's 1-1.
Well, he has got wicked curl on that, and it's gone straight in on the Harvey Norman replay from Carlo Armiento. Look at the curl on it. Knowles might have got a leg hair on the end of it. But Adelaide's near post, unpatrolled. And Brisbane back level.
I think there's a touch off Joe.
Yeah, probably
Joe
is too. He probably is too.
Just off the shin. And Armiento gets the plaudits, rightly so. Isaias. Second ball is overhit by quite some margin in the last 60 seconds. And that will do for an entertaining first half. Two rather unlikely goal scorers, I guess. Louis Dorigo with just his second goal in the competition, courtesy of a couple of deflections, and then Joe Knowles with his first in the competition since 2017 from Carlo Armiento's corner. And on balance, Brisbane certainly deserved that. They had the lion's share of the opportunities at the interval at Cooper Stadium. They go in level. Adelaide United 1, Brisbane Roar 1. It's certainly been a decent game so far. Hopefully the second half matches that. Adelaide so strong here at Cooper Stadium. Only dropped points on 2 occasions on their own deck so far this season. Newcastle the only team to beat them. They're trying to create something in the opening seconds of the second half, but it's swept away to safety by Chapman. Oh, and then there's a strong collision in midfield. 50-50 ball that was there to be won. Lachlan Barr and Joe Knowles went for it. And there was a really big collision. Lockie Barr gets a card.
And a bruise. So too Knowles. It's a commitment for the ball from both.
The bar is late.
Yeah, it's a clear foul.
Here's Javi Lopez looking for it. Ibasuki, it's poured away by Holmes.
And if he's anything close to fit, you'd imagine he'll get his share of game time. But Simon, the jack in the box for me is Ayon Majok. It was a surprise move in the transfer window for Brisbane to bring him in. He hasn't come with a huge reputation, but the small bits of football he's been offered, he looks dangerous. He's a sort of player.
Here's Zach Clough. Just dragged his effort wide of that right-hand upright.
He's the sort of player who can cause some chaos. Ayon Majok. Nice work here, just touching it away. Jordan Holmes. And then a good shot on goal.
Joe Knowles, the only man in advance of him at the moment, so he has to just check. Now it's with Hoare. Oh, it's nicely done by Henry Hoare. And they'll get a corner out of that, Brisbane.
Good cover from Dorigo Needsmith. Really clever little bit of footwork from Henry Hoare. He's always prepared to ask the question of the opposing defender. He did Popovic like a dinner there. Not an easy thing to do. Alex Popovic is a terrific young player for Adelaide. Excellent prospect at centre-half for club and probably internationally if he keeps going in this manner. But he was done over there by Henry Hoare. Needed The intervention of Louis Dorigo to see it to safety.
Now, Brisbane have worked a lot of their corners short tonight. And O'Shea is there again if he's to be required. Looks as though Armiento is going to go more conventionally. And Gauci couldn't reach it, and it's another goal from a corner. This time, Carlo Armiento will claim it. And Brisbane have scored 2 goals in a game for just the second time this season. Extraordinary. When did you see a team last score twice in the same game from a corner kick?
We're watching the setup here on the Harvey Norman replay. Again, the posts aren't patrolled from Adelaide. Remember, it was the near post where they came unstuck. The Adelaide players are asking, is there any interference here from Knowles on Gauci? They're still protesting. It's often enough to have the free kick go the way of the goalkeeper inside that 6-yard area. Well, his arm's
going up.
It's going to be rubbed out. It's got to be. Look, his left arm.
Yeah, those arms are intertwined, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a feeling this may be expunged. And it's all getting a bit heated as you watch that replay. Armiento and Kitto engaged in a little push and shove. Alex King has to decide for himself whether that's enough to overturn the original decision that was a goal.
They are a protected species inside that 6-yard box. He makes a bit of a hash of it too, you should say. Gauci.
Knowles is actually impeding his left arm, if anything, and Gauci reaches it with his right. I'm not sure whether that makes any difference to what the VAR are instructing Alex King. Well, the cheers from the home fans tell you everything you need to know. It's been rubbed out, and Warren Moon will not be happy about that. His team has created a couple of good opportunities since that disallowed goal for Brisbane. Here's Hingett, though, just trying to clip it into that area. And it's Henry Hoare off the crossbar. Surely they must score. Great block by Javi Lopez to deny Jordan Courtney-Perkins. Both teams really going for it now.
And both teams squandering chances. Substitute time. Lovely work from Hoare. Again, talking about bravery. Look at this from Knowles. He just goes for the ball. There's 3 Adelaide players, including the keeper, converging on him.
Here's Joe Knowles. O'Shea. Armiento. Oh, that almost got through, didn't it? For Tarash Gamulka. It's going to be a corner for Brisbane. Home fans trying to rouse their team. Not quite been at their best tonight. And a corner to defend here, and they have been warned. And strangely, it's not going to be Armiento on corner kick duty. That's because he's off, of course. Floated in by O'Shea. And Gauci spilled it again. And they cannot convert. Aldridge puts it wide. They appeal for a corner again.
Well, the Adelaide players really urging, as you can see, Joe Gauci to be stronger. And Brisbane have identified some trouble here. And Gamulka couldn't turn it in. But this has been rubbed out as well. There's another push out. There's slight contact. That would have been a tough one to rule out.
So a big incentive for them. They would go into 3rd spot, in fact, overall on goal difference, but level on points with the Mariners if they can get a winner here. Dorigo. Bit of contact from Aldridge. Halloran has stayed down. Irankunda driving into the box. Oh! Nestori Irankunda. He packs a punch in that right boot. He's only just come onto the pitch. And he blasts Adelaide United into the lead with less than 10 to go. What a talent this young kid is.
Well, on the Harvey Norman replays, Ben Halloran is down, hoping for attention. Jay O'Shea coughs the ball up, and this part of the field on the Harvey Norman replay is manna from heaven. From Nestori Irankunda, who is capable of fireworks, and this is a fair income Catherine Will. In at the near post. Stop this if you can. Wow.
Irankunda brings the thunder for Adelaide. Kept in play cleverly. And on towards Macca. Akbari looking to float it, Brindle south. And Scott Neville going to have a go here. That was travelling. And I don't think it was too far off.
Didn't he make good contact? There's a good header on the back post from Josh Brindle south to set up Scotty Neville. He struck it truly. Initial incursion coming down the left with Macca. Ramad Akbari drops the ball across the penalty area. That's a real fizzer. Very, very close.
Almost 8 minutes of stoppage time. Madana. Leading the Roar defenders are Mary Dance Goodwin. Tempting ball. No foul on Yule. Brisbane desperate to get it forward. And that is full time at Cooper's. And it's the 16-year-old who wins it for Carl Beard's team off the bench. An inspired change by the Red Supremo. And it paid cash. Irankunda brought that thunder from the right boots as the Reds provide one day with the perfect tonic for his recovery. 3 points which strengthen their finals charge. They move up to third spot on the ladder and maintain their 5-year unbeaten streak here against Brisbane. Roar now without a win in 5. Those reinforcements, particularly Robbie Cruz up front, cannot come soon enough. They will argue about the goal ruled out by VAR from Carlo Armiento, and they showed plenty in this game, Brisbane, but once again they end up with nothing. Adelaide United 2, Brisbane Roar 1.